Thank you all for joining us this morning. We are so excited to have Ms. Verlonda Johnson, the CEO and founder of Choosing Me Unselfishly, presenting for us today, creating a culture of thankfulness. She'll be discussing practical strategies and tangible benefits of prioritizing gratitude, both internally and externally, as we navigate the unique challenges and opportunities of the nonprofit sector to elevate our mission-driven work. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and hand off the microphone and dice to Mrs. Verlonda Johnson.
Thank you, Justin. Good morning, everyone. I am excited to be here and excited to be presenting to you today on this Giving Tuesday. Didn't realize that when we set the date that it was Giving Tuesday, but I think it's fitting the topic that we're discussing today. And I'm Verlonda Johnson, and just excited to be here presenting to you. And we'll go ahead and get started. I'm going to share my screen with you. Hope everyone had a wonderful Thanksgiving. All right, let me know if you can see the screen. Justin, can you see? Okay, you can see. All right, good deal. So as Justin mentioned, we're going to be talking about creating a culture of thankfulness, and something that not only for nonprofits, but I think for any organization, it's important that we do this and that we implement this in our organizations if we want to elevate, if we want to sustain, if we want to grow, if we want to attract and retain talent. I think it's important that we do this. And so I'm excited to present to you today. I'll tell you a little bit about myself. As Justin mentioned, I am the founder and creator of a nonprofit called Choosing Me Unselfishly. I started this in late 2019, early 2020, right at the beginning of the pandemic. It was just after my third child. You can see him in the middle. Grayson was born, and it was a rough time for me, just during the pandemic, postpartum depression, and all those things that we kind of face in motherhood. And it was one of those times where I needed the accountability. I needed a community. I needed a support system. And so I created this group where we as moms could be have a place and a space where we could come together and just share, and also to take off our mom hats. A lot of times we wear our hats proudly and rightfully so, but sometimes we also lose ourselves in those moments. And so I created this space for us to come in to learn about self-care, to implement self-care, and then to help to guide us through those things and not feel guilty about it, not feel guilty about choosing ourselves. My husband and I also own and operate a roofing and construction company here locally, where we focus on roofing and how residential and commercial remodels and roofing. And we are also expecting our fourth child in a few weeks. So that's exciting news as well. So I will we'll get started, and I'll kind of go over what we'll be discussing and what we're going to talk about, our main points. And so we'll talk about thankfulness. We'll talk about what that is. We'll define it, and we'll talk about what that looks like versus gratitude. We'll go into the benefits of introducing this culture into your organization. We'll look into the building blocks and the foundation of it. We'll also talk about how you can implement it. So if you don't already have this within your organization, what can you do today? What can you take back with you after leaving today to implement this? We'll talk about challenges, because with anything, with any change, there are going to be challenges. So we'll talk about how you can overcome those challenges, and then how you can sustain and grow within this thankfulness culture. And then I'll open up for Q&A. But if it's okay with Justin and LaShawn, I'm not opposed to you. If you have questions during the presentation, or if you have comments, please just raise your hand or whatever. And just, you can stop me if there are questions in the chat. I'll stop and we'll take those, and we'll just keep rolling. So I love this to be a dialogue, conversation. So you talk to me, I'll talk to you, and we'll make some magic happen. Again, it's Giving Tuesday, and I like to start off all presentations with just an inspirational quote. And so I'll start off with this one: the more you practice the art of thankfulness, the more you have to be thankful for. And with that, we're going to jump right in. We'll talk about the who, the what, and the why of a thankfulness culture. And the who I'm really going to focus on for this presentation, it will remain the same. We'll talk about some different areas and different people and different entities in the who, but the main focus is going to be on leadership. And so the who of a thankfulness culture, who are we talking about? Who's involved? Who plays a role in this? And leadership is the primary component of a leadership of a thankful culture. That can be your executive managers, your team leaders, your middle managers, whomever it is. They play the pivotal role because they're the decision makers. They're the ones who are influencing the decisions and influencing everyone else within the organization. Your HR, your employees, your advocates, your volunteers, your donors, anyone who supports, who gives back, who gives of their time, who gives of their service, their talents, or their monies. They are also the who in this thankful culture. And it may even seem a little strange, but even the community and your supporters are also playing a very key role in this thankful culture. And this may be a question mark, and you may be saying, well, why do you say that? Glad you asked. Well, it's the community. We have a reciprocal relationship with the community, right? So when they see that the culture that we're presenting, that we love and we care, and that we are appreciative and show gratitude towards our employees, our advocates, our volunteers, and our donors, it then helps them to build that trust. They are able to lead community-led initiatives. They have support. They are loyal to us. They give back to us. They create the positive reputation that we need in order to sustain, in order to have that thankful culture within the community. What is a thankful culture? The simplistic form, the way that I can explain that is in expressing appreciation. That's all it is. And that can be in many different forms, which we'll talk about. We'll get into what that looks like in all those forms. But the simplistic form and simplistic definition of a thankful culture is just expressing appreciation, whether it's for a gift or for an act of service or for an effort. And then why do we do it? We'll also get into this a little bit deeper as well, but we do it for one, to boost morale within our organizations. We do it to help foster a positive work environment. We do it to build trust and relationships. We do it to enhance our organizational resilience during those tough times. And then we also do it to attract and to retain talent within those organizations. So gratitude versus thankfulness. And a lot of times these words are used synonymously and rightfully so, but there's a slight difference that I want to point out before we continue in the presentation, just to mention as we go forward. So I want you to think of gratitude is a mindset and a lifestyle. Okay. So it's more of a broader perspective on life, on your awareness of the positive things that you have that have been given to you. Some people keep gratitude journals, right? And that's more of your lifestyle and your mindset. Whereas thankfulness is more of a specific or an immediate response to an act or a service or a gift or a gesture. It's more tangible expression of appreciation. So whereas gratitude is your mindset and your lifestyle, thankfulness is more of that immediate reaction and immediate appreciation for a specific action. Doesn't mean they can't be used interchangeably. Doesn't mean they are very similar, because they are. But I want to make sure that we stress the difference in those two before we go too deep into it. So the benefits of a thankful culture, and these will be highlighted many times without the presentation, but just so that you can get the understanding. The benefits of a thankful culture. The first thing is improved employee morale. So increased job satisfaction, higher motivation, less turnover within your organization, increased donor engagement. And so that can be for your volunteers or from anyone who's supporting you financially. Again, on Giving Tuesday, everyone you see today, every nonprofit is going to be making their pitch, making their spill today for Giving Tuesday and why you should give back to the organization. But after today, what happens after today? How are we saying thank you? How are we coming back and showing our appreciation and our gratitude for what these donors are giving today? So the benefit of that is the increased in donor engagement that we receive. And I like to think of this I always think of, and excuse me if I throw in a lot of my parenting and mothering analogies into this, but a lot of it does come from my own kids. And I think about how my kids are a lot of times motivated by a thank you from me. And not that they do it or we do it for the thank you, but it could be as simple as making their beds in the morning and oh, mommy is so proud of you for making your bed. And that gives them a sense of pride, a sense of independence, and it also makes them and encourages them to do more of that. They got a prize for it, or they tell their siblings that mommy gave me a prize making my bed. And so I'm not, saying that we are like that, but I think that at some point, or most of us have that little piece inside of us that longs for that thank you, and not that we do it for the thank you, but I think that it does encourage us to do more. It does encourage us to give back more. It does encourage us to share our talents and our time a little bit more when we're appreciated and when we can see that and realize that we're appreciated. The other benefits of a thankful culture enhance organizational resilience. So every organization is going to go through this period, right? Your ebbs and flows, your ups and downs, you're going to be in the red. There's going to be times where it's tougher, where you got increased employee turnover. But having this culture, sustaining this culture during those times will definitely help your organization resilience. Positive public perception, enhanced collaboration and teamwork. So when your employees feel empowered and when they feel thankful, they can be innovative, they can be creative. They're more likely to want to work in teams and to take on more tasks and to be proactive, and they're more likely to be engaged. And you can see that across the board on their faces, in the work that they do and everything, and how they speak about your company and how they represent your company. So all these things play a crucial part in creating, organizing, and sustaining a thankful culture. So I want to talk about a company that is local, that I think does a great job of, they've done a great job of creating, of sustaining this thankful culture. And if you know of this company, if you know these women who lead this company, you will agree. And that's Moore Agency. So if you know Karen Moore, if you know Terry Ard, or even if you know Shannon Smith, these women are all about action. They're all about words. They're all about service. They're all about community, and they're all about their team. And so I want to highlight them just quickly and kind of talk about them and what they do and what they've done and how they've implemented this thankful culture. So Moore has been around for 30 years. Karen Moore founded it. And back in 2009, they implemented what's called a Thrive More wellness program. Well, it wasn't just a wellness program. It was a wellness program on steroids. So it was almost wellness mixed with gratitude and thanks. And so they are very, very intentional about noticing their employees' needs, noticing their wants, their desires. How are they feeling physically? How are they doing emotionally? What's going on in seasons? It's a marketing agency, so they have strict deadlines sometimes, and lots of things coming at them, and high profile clients. And so they wanted to make sure that their employees felt appreciated for the work that they were doing within the organization. So they created Thrive More. And Thrive More is a plethora of ideas that they put together, but just a few of them to say thank you. What they do, they have staff luncheons on the regular. They have an afternoon wind down. So if it's been a long day or a long week, they're working on a hard project, they may say Friday, 4 o'clock, we're going to have a toast. So we're all going to meet, and we're going to pop some champagne bottles, and we're going to toast to the week. That's our thank you to you for what you've done for your efforts. They bring their pets to work. I don't know if it's every day, but they have certain days to bring their pets to work. And then studies have been shown to say that bringing your pets to work increases your productivity and collaboration. And so they're allowed to bring pets to work. They have a very flexible schedule. So work from home or within the office or from wherever they are. They have 4 hours a month that they give them to volunteer with any organization of their choice. 4 hours every month. Very generous PTO and holiday schedule. They do company luncheons, and they have yoga on the regular. They have company potlucks, company cook-offs, chili cook-offs, different things. So they are very vested in their employees. And then all in all, they have an I hear you, I see you, and I appreciate you attitude. And they've been able to sustain this for the past 15 years of 30 out of 30 years that Moore has been around. And so I really wanted to highlight them as one of those companies that understands the benefits, and they put it into place, and they are actively working towards making sure that everyone that steps in that door knows they are appreciated from the top down. All right, so the foundations of thankfulness. How do we create this culture? And we've got, excuse me, sorry, we have 4 foundations listed, but I want to really focus on one if I could, and that's the leadership's role in cultivating foundations of thankfulness, because I think that's so, so important. And I'll use the analogy. So when I met my husband, I knew nothing about construction, didn't know anything about roofing or shingles or soffit and gutters and rebar. And I knew nothing about those things. And so I told you that my husband and I have a construction company. So it wasn't until I went on, the first, 20, 30 estimates with him, got on top of some roofs, crawled in the crawl space, couple crawl spaces, and, was actually digging around and learning about the business that I realized how a house was made. And I know we've seen houses go up and we know what that looks like in the structure. We see the progress of it, but until you're actually there day to day on site looking at it, it makes a difference. And so I like to use the analogy that the leadership role in cultivating this thankfulness culture is very similar to building your house, your foundation, because that rebar, that plumbing, that concrete that you're putting down, that is the foundation of your house. And when that shifts, everything else shifts within your culture. When your leadership shifts, when your leadership changes, if you've ever had a crack in your foundation at your house, and you've ever had to call, say, Alpha Foundation Systems, and you know how much it costs to repair that foundation, you would understand just how crucial and just how critical and important the role of leadership is when we're building this foundation of a thankfulness culture. Your leadership needs to set the tone. They need to be the one that's in the forefront, that's making the statements. They need to discuss what's happening, how it's happening, why it's happening, when it's happening, where it's happening, who it's including. They need to be the ones with open communication. So whether it's going to be, we're going to do town hall meetings, or we're going to have an open door policy, you can come in anytime. We're going to do one-on-one meetings, or I'm going to do a gratitude wall or employee surveys. They have to set the tone for everything that goes forward in this leadership culture, in this thankfulness culture. They need to set the tone about on how we're going to celebrate and recognize the achievements of everyone in the organization, big or small. So whether it's your 1-year anniversary or your 25-year anniversary or your retirement, they need to be able to establish what that looks like and how exactly they're going to implement that. They need to encourage others to do the same. So peer-to-peer gratitude, whatever it is, your leadership is the foundation and the most important piece in the puzzle of creating your culture. Okay. So the next example I want to give is someone who we probably all know him as well. If you've been in Tallahassee for a few years, you will know Shirag Shaw. And Shirag is the owner of the Current Agency, another marketing firm here in Tallahassee. And I like to highlight Shirag because Shirag is pretty young. I want to say early 30s, I think. But he started this company almost 10 years ago. And when he started it, he started with this solid foundation that I'm talking about. And he started with the notion of, I want my employees, I want my staff, I want my family to know that they are appreciated and that I'm thankful for them every day. And so in everything that he's created, even down to his building and his space, he shows them daily, I'm thankful for you and I'm appreciative for you. So much so that some things that he's implemented, even since day one, in his company, when you come to work for him or the Current Agency, your benefits and your PTO start on day one. So there's no waiting period. There's no probationary period. You start on day one. Now, I'm not saying that everybody go and change their change to start on day one, but I'm saying this is what he wants to do to show his appreciation and gratitude for his family, his staff. It starts on day one. So vision, hearing, dental, all those things start on day one. He has an open door policy. They talk about everything openly. So it's a small family that he has, but it's a mighty family that he has, and everything is discussed openly in front of everyone. He has, and I love this, he has a mental or a happy check-in every week, which means he sits down with each one of his staff members and he talks to them about how they're feeling, whether that's emotionally or physically, personal or professionally. It's a weekly check-in every single week on how they're doing. He does team outings. So they're traveling together, whether it be locally or just recently they traveled to New York together for team bonding and team outing experience. But that was his way of saying thank you. Um, if you've never been to his building, I would suggest you go and take a tour of his building. It is amazing what he's done in there. And he's incorporated not just wellness, but thank you within the building. So he has a gym in the building. He wants his employees to know you don't have to go to the gym, wake up extra early, go to the gym, take a shower, come back, come to work. We have a gym on site in the building. We have a basketball court on site in the building. We have a ping pong table. If you need to release some stress, go over there, play ping pong, shoot a couple hoops, come back. We'll get back on it. They have a bar within the building where they host different after hours. And they also have a massage therapist who comes on site once a month for all the employees. So he is vested in his company. He's vested in his staff. He's vested in the growth of his organization, and he wants them to know with everything that he does, all that he provides, I'm thankful for you. So again, it's that I hear you, I see you, and I appreciate you attitude that he has with the current agency. So practical strategies for implementation. So how can you today go back and implement strategies? What can you do today to start small, but that helps you to create this culture? And the first thing that you could do is to create the thankfulness committee. Again, this starts with the leadership. But thinking about creating a thankfulness culture. And I want to go back a little bit to a personal experience where I was pretty young in professional career, and I wanted to work in healthcare, but I didn't want to touch blood. So I wanted to be in administration. I wanted to be on the other side of healthcare. And so I started out um, in healthcare administration at a local hospital here, and started as a staff employee and worked my way up to middle management, and was continuing to climb and doing great things. And then we had a new leadership change. So a new CEO came in and he has all these bright ideas and wants to implement all these changes. And people are always leery of change, as we talked about. So that was tough in itself. And he came to me with the charge. And this CEO was probably my age. So we were probably late 20s, I would say. He was late 20s as well. So you can imagine the resistance that comes along with the CEO who is the same age as a lot of the staff members' sons and daughters. So he wanted to make some changes. And so he came to me and he said, well, I want you to be over my gratitude committee. And I was like, me? Okay, I'll do it. I'm eager to take on any new tasks. I want to be as helpful as I can during this transition. And so I'm like, okay, so what do I do? How much money do I have? What can I? It's like, oh no, you don't need any money. Just go, make sure they know that they're appreciated. And I'm like, well, what do I do? How much money do I have? And basically my budget was a Snickers and lollipop budget, literally. And so I'd been there for a couple of years, so I knew the staff. I made that connection with them. I made that rapport with them. My job relied on them. So I was training the nurses, I was training the all the therapists. I was getting them certified. So my job depended upon their documentation. So I needed to be best friends with them. I needed to be buddy buddy with them. I needed them to understand my role and who I was before the gratitude coordinator. So when he gave me this role, I thought, okay, I can do it. This should be easy, no problem. So I was creating appreciation programs on a Dollar Tree budget for a multi-million-dollar hospital, right? And so, I'm thinking it's going well. I'm going around, I'm, saying thank you and giving out candy and giving out gift cards to Starbucks and da da da, and thinking everything is great and everyone feels appreciated and valued and trusted. And so, so I do feedback I'm talking to the staff and the nurses, and I'm like, okay, so what do you think is going well and what's not going well? And they're saying, well, Rhonda, we appreciate you coming around, but where's he? Where's the CEO? And so I'm like, well, he's right there. And they're like, no, but why isn't he saying thank you? Why are you saying thank you? And so I was so confused. I was floored. I had no idea what they were talking about. And so they said, well, you're kind of one of us. Why isn't he saying thank you? Is he grateful for us, or are you grateful for us? And so I said, well, I'm his representative. I'm here for him. And they were like, well, that's good, but we want to see him too. And so I realized at that moment that I couldn't just be the committee by myself. I couldn't just do the work by myself. I needed to have my foundation, and my foundation was not there. It was not present. I needed him to set the tone. I needed him to be the one that was spearheading and that was going before the people and that was making it known what we're doing, why we're doing it, and this is our goal. So when coming back to present day, and thinking about this thankfulness committee, it's so important that your leadership steps up and says, this is what we're going to do. We're going to recruit the right people. They've got to be diverse. They've got to be from different levels of experience, from different departments. I've got to be the one as a leader to define their roles. I've got to develop the program of how we're going to hire the team members, the donors, and the volunteers. I have to determine how we're going to communicate. How are they going to communicate back to me? How do I get feedback from them to know if we're doing things okay, if we're not making momentum, if they're receptive of it? I've got to be the one to step in the forefront, to be the face, and set the tone for everything else that's to come. The other practical strategy that you could start today is to implement thankfulness into your performance reviews. And so this is one of those things where this is where my counselor hat comes on. One of the things that my husband and I do when we do counseling is we like to implement a method. And some of you maybe in social work or counseling, you may have heard of the hamburger method. And so I like to give you that piece of advice as well, to incorporate it into your performance review. So thankfulness. So the hamburger method, think of it like 3 layers. So we've got our top bun, we've got our meat, and then we've got our bottom bun. So on our top bun, doing our performance reviews, we're going to talk about all the good, all the thank yous. Thank you for taking the initiative. Thank you for training a new employee. Thank you for stepping up and helping with this project. And thank you for this. And then that's our top layer. Our middle layer is going to be our meat. And it's not necessarily the bad, but it's what areas can we do to improve? Where can we improve? So in first quarter, let's think about increasing our productivity rate, or hiring one more intern, or whatever it is. Our middle is our meat. That's where we can improve. And then our bottom layer is one more piece of good, right? So thank you again for your consistency, for your dedication, for stepping up. So it's a thank you, a moment to improve, and a thank you. And that's our hamburger method. So you could go back today and start incorporating that into your performance reviews. Not even reviews. You don't have to wait until then. You could do that in your day-to-day conversations with your employees and with your staffs, is incorporating that method. And then always be open to continuous feedback and improvement. How you want to collect it, how often you're going to collect it, what do you do with it once you receive it? Those are all strategies that you could go back and implement today to start creating your thankfulness culture. Challenges. There are always going to be challenges. We talked about this earlier. Whenever you change, whenever there's a new sheriff in town, so to speak, or whenever there's newness coming, you can always expect that the change is going to come, that the resistance is going to come, because it's natural. So in overcoming these challenges, you need to understand that first and be able to address those reservations, which is why your leadership, your foundation has to be rock solid. Meaning they come in knowing that there's going to be some pushback, some setback. Somebody's going to be upset and disgruntled about why we're changing and how we're changing, and thinking that, are things going to be the same, and will they get better or will they get worse? But that's where our leadership comes and stands firm to inform everyone that this is so that we can say thank you. I think it's important to understand also that everyone is not doesn't receive thank you the same way. And if you've read Robert Chapman's The 5 Love Languages, or if you've even heard of the 5 Languages of Workplace Appreciation, you'll notice that everyone doesn't receive it the same way. So a gift card to Justin, to Starbucks, may be just what he needs to brighten his day and make him feel great. But I might just want you to put my name on a gratitude wall. I want to see my name on the wall of fame when I walk down the hallway. So, there's different levels, there's different ways to say thank you. So, but make sure that your leadership is addressing those reservations and resistance right up front. And then you keeping your lines of communication open so that when those issues do arise, you're there to address it right away. Maintain thankfulness even during difficult times. So we talked about those ebbs and flows. We talked about those moments where there are challenges. We talked about, when the leadership changes, or when there's a shift in the atmosphere, or there's inconsistency. Those are the times where we need to be mostly sustaining. We need to increase our thankfulness culture during those times, when it's during difficult times, right? When morale may be low, or when there are changes in employment, or people are leaving and finding other opportunities. Those are the times we have to make sure that we're maintaining and we're increasing our thankful culture. Measure the impact. Again, that's something that the leadership sets from the beginning. How do we measure what we're doing? If we're just doing it and doing it, we have no idea if we're being successful, no idea if anyone is receiving, or if they are even feel appreciative, if we're not measuring how we're going to be successful. And then you have to be able to adapt and pivot. Because again, the Starbucks gift card to Justin is fine, but LaShawn, on the other hand, who doesn't drink coffee, is going to sit in her purse until that one day where I say, let's go get some coffee, LaShawn. And she'll say, oh, I have this gift card and you can use it. It meant nothing to her. It was a great gesture, but it meant nothing to her. And it was not a thoughtless gesture, but it was almost, you don't really know me. If you knew me, you know that I like pedicures. I like the water. I like the beach. So anything surrounding that, anything surrounding that is going to speak to her language. It's going to say, they know me, they hear me, they see me, and they appreciate me. And so we have to get in the mindset of even asking your employees and your staff, what can I do for you? How can I say thank you to you and you feel appreciated? So that goes back to those 5 languages of workplace appreciation, the same as with your spouse, with 5 so acts of service, and um, words of affirmation, and physical touch, and all those things. All of that goes back to the 5 uh, workplace appreciation languages. So being able to adapt and pivot, that's one of the biggest challenges that we have to overcome, is being able to adapt and pivot during those times, make changes on a whim. And then how do we sustain? How do we continue to maintain this culture through hard times, through the startups, through new leadership, through new employees? How do we sustain this culture? Again, and this will always be my number one, is start at the top. Your leader, your foundation will be the key and the strongest element to that. Continuous training, training your employees on workplace, on this thankfulness culture, and what is it and why do they have it. Continue to pour into them. So whether that means that you incorporate it into your onboarding process for new employees, make that a part of one of the things, a half a day training on thankfulness culture. That needs to be a staple within your policies and procedures manual. It needs to be a staple within your walls when they walk down the hallway or wherever it may be. Regular communication. The doors should be open. There should always be some level of communication. They can always come back and speak to you about whatever issue that they may be having. They should always be able to talk to you. Accept feedback. If you're going to be if you're not going to receive the feedback that they're giving to you, they're not going to give it, and it's not going to work. So being able to accept your feedback, implement your recognition programs, whether it's a monthly or quarterly or annual social or annual event. How are you going to recognize your employees, and for what reason are you going to recognize them? For anniversaries, or for going above and beyond on a project, whatever it is. Peer-to-peer gratitude, encourage that. Encourage your peers to nominate someone else for Employee of the Month or Employee of the Quarter. Encourage and facilitate that. And then lastly, be flexible and adaptable. We talked about measuring the outcome and measuring the success. If you're not able to be flexible and adaptable, it will not sustain and it will not work. And that's the one thing that you need to remember. So start at the top, with your leadership as a foundation, and then being flexible and adaptable. I started with the quote, and I want to end with the quote. Thankfulness is the beginning of gratitude. Gratitude is the completion of thankfulness. Thankfulness consists merely of words, and gratitude is shown in kindness. It's a quote by Henry Frederick Amiel. Thank you all for being with me and joining me today. I would like to open it up to any questions or comments or feedback from anyone at this time.
Mute, Jay. Let me jump in.
I just want to say thank you. This is an excellent PowerPoint. I'm Sonia Wilson, the new Executive Director of the Kearney Center. And so many of the things that you're discussing are challenges and things that I'm trying to overcome and build a strong team here, because it does begin with our team. So thank you. This has been most beneficial. And I love your energy.
Thank you, Sonia.
So I see a lot of positive comments in the chat. Multiple people asked about the recording. Justin will send it out. For those of you that don't know, we have a UPHS YouTube channel, so you can find a catalog of previous presentations. It'll also be on our social media page. But one of the things that I want to offer up to you all, Sonia, it's so good to meet you. I just made myself a note to connect for coffee. But one of the things I want to offer up, I've known Verlonda for a really long time, back when she worked in HR. And so for those of you with agencies where you're trying to build up your employee incentive program and things like that, please reach out to her. She's a UPHS member, and on the business side, they're a partner and sponsor for many of our agencies. So feel free to reach out. This is one of those things that we got a lot of feedback from our agencies. We wanted to have a presentation that focused on thanking our donors, but we can't thank our donors if we don't thank our team members. And so this was very timely as we just finished Thanksgiving, and we're rolling into the Christmas holidays. And so wanted to just offer that up. When Justin sends it out, he'll be sure to share her contact information as well. So any other thoughts? I'm looking in the chat, all positive feedback and comments. I'm loving that. Any other questions or comments before we close out? All right, well, we are going to give you all some of your time back. If you know me, I don't believe in prolonging when we don't need to prolong. Justin will be sending out the dates. We're actually having our middle manager meetup in December, as well as our ED roundtable. So Sonia, you'll see that. I saw Keisha was on here. Keisha's joined us before. So we hope to see you all at the middle management as well as the ED roundtable. And then on the 14th of December, we're having our UPHS Ugly Sweater Holiday Social, where we'll be benefiting. We'll be collecting toys for a couple of our grassroots organizations. And so you'll see all those announcements coming out today. You all stay warm. It's a little too cool for me. She mentioned beach. That's really my ideal type of setup. So, I'm in a turtleneck sweater this morning. But you all be warm, be safe, and we will see you soon. Thank you, Verlonda.
Thank you, guys. Have a good day.
Bye, y'all.
Thank you.